really interesting to talk more about the draft lottery, the NBA draft, the future of Dame Lillard in Portland. Let's welcome in Austin White, beat reporter for the Blazers of the Portland Tribune. What's up, Austin? How you doing today, man?
Not much. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm looking at this Portland Trailblazers team, this roster, and, selfishly here in Sac, I'm saying, who can we pluck off the roster? Who can we get? Who's a Blazer that we can go out there and get? Before we talk about Jerami Grant, what's the mood, the vibe in Portland after landing the number 3 overall pick?
It's an interesting one. There's kind of a small vocal minority that's saying, hey, this is the time to move on from Dame. Let's trade him. Use this number 3 pick on a guy like Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller and build around them. But, it's interesting today, too. Dame's kind of hearing it. Dame tweeted out, let me see what quote him here. If the fans want to trade me, start the petition and send it in. So it's an interesting vibe right now. But, the minority, I'm not sure if trading Dame is the way this team wants to go.
So do you get a vibe from the organization, Austin, in terms of it almost feels from the outside looking in like Dame has been very vocal about claiming he really doesn't want to be part of another rebuild. Do you get the vibe absolutely. That the organization has pressure from him?
I don't know if it's pressure, but, I think they're definitely on the same page as kind of what I'm hearing. They want to do this for Dame just as badly as he wants to do this for Portland, right? They want to do right by the guy who's been so loyal, who's going to have his jersey retired someday, probably a statue outside if it goes the right way. But this feels mutual to me at this point. They're both sides really trying to find a way to pull this off.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of, what happened with the Boston Bruins years ago. I'm drawing a blank on the player's name right now. A veteran that had been there forever. They send him out to Colorado. He wins his championship. Everybody's excited for him. And it's sort of like that, I feel like, with the Blazers. If they do decide to trade him, do you think it would be to a contender or somebody, a place he can actually win, and not necessarily a place that has young talent and draft picks that's sort of also in a rebuild?
Yeah, that's the tough balance. It's, the Blazers got to do what's best for them, and trading into a young team would probably provide them more prospects. But, at the same time, you want to do right by the guy who's, put your team on the map the last 11 years. So, I don't know. I feel like, general manager Joe Cronin, he's always, his buzz terms, things he's always talking about are value, assessing the value of this number 3 pick. That leads me to believe that Portland would want to do kind of what's best in their interest moving forward. But, a trade seems pretty unlikely at this point of Dame. But, we got a month until the draft to see what happens.
I see. And this is what is so intriguing to me about this situation, because if you're looking at it from the outside, right, I think it's very, very clear. A lot of people look at it as like, okay, they've got a lot of young talent. Dame is a phenomenal player, but he's 32, about to be 33. And you've got the number 3 pick in a draft where you allegedly are going to be able to draft a difference maker at that position. So from the outside looking in, it seems clear that, okay, maybe this is the time. As grateful as you are to Dame and what he has done and the type of player and the loyalty he's had to Portland, maybe this is the time. But I think the loyalty it appears that he has had is what's making this decision difficult for them.
Right. And, that it goes back to the value too. They do have all this kind of young talent, got the number 3 pick. That could be seen as Portland's chance to use that to actually finally put some difference makers around Dame. They finally got one in Jerami Grant last year who played very well, probably one of his best offensive seasons. It's like, okay, so now can Portland take that next step? They've got the 3 pick, they've got 23 from New York, they've got Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe, 2 young talents who kind of really don't make sense to be playing next to each other. Is there a package somewhere in, one of those players, those 2 first-round picks? Is there a package in there that, can land a veteran difference maker? Because that's been the issue too. Is there are all these young guys, all these talents, but there's just no proven winners, no guys who know how to win daily in the NBA. So there's a lot of options, a lot of avenues this offseason can go.
Austin, a lot of options. But Kayte mentioned Dame's 32. Are you really trading young talent, picks, and whatever to bring in somebody for maybe a 2 or 3 year run? And I know they're desperate to win, and I know they're desperate to surround Dame with some talent and give him a chance to play on the big stage and win. But if I'm the Blazers organization, I want to set up for sustained success. I'm not talking 2 or 3 years. I'm talking a decade-long run. And, the Warriors are going down. The Bucks are going down. Denver's still there. But who's that next team? And if I'm Portland, I'm positioning myself to be that next dynasty, that next team that can make several deep runs. And so I think Scoot Henderson at number 3 is going to be the pick. I think Brandon Miller will go to number 2 to Charlotte. So if you're going to select Scoot, I think maybe you move off Dame, get a treasure trove of picks and young talent, and then trying to bring those guys, sort of like the Celtics did back in 2013 with the KG and Paul Pierce trade. Yeah. That ultimately landed them Tatum, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and, their young core, and now you see the Celtics. Austin, I see the Blazers doing something like that. How would the fan base react to that, though, a trade of a guy like Dame Lillard?
I don't think they'd like it. I'm going to be honest with you. The thing is, Dame is 32, obviously not getting any younger, but dude just had his best career, season of his career. Yep. I think the Blazers believe Dame at 32, going to be 33, can still have a window like that for the next 5 years. They gave him a contract extension last offseason to, I believe now, if you count this last season, but I think it's 5 more years he's under contract. And those 2 years on that extension, I believe they're both around $60 million a year.
Massive,
absolute, massive amounts of money. Portland really believes that Dame can, still be Dame that we've come to know for the next 5 years. So I think Portland, they don't see a window closing here at all, and I think that's why, the first move I would expect is a trade at somewhere of these picks and not of Dame.
I got to ask you, Austin, about Jerami Grant, because he's an unrestricted free agent this year, 28-year-old. I mean, he averaged over 20 a game this year, shot 40% from long range, just had a phenomenal season for you guys, obviously coming out of Detroit a year ago. So is this a priority for the Blazers to try and re-sign him, or do you think there's a possibility that he might end up somewhere else?
Oh yeah, he's the number one priority for Portland, and it feels even before the season ended, it feels like a deal is going to happen. They just kind of work out the numbers. It was funny in the exit interviews. He was asked about re-signing with Portland, and Jerami said something about a 5-year contract, which instead of a 4-year. So kind of indicating that he too is kind of looking to come back.
Right.
He's really enjoyed Dame. They've met playing Team USA basketball together. This seems like a partnership that I would imagine gets done here at some point in the offseason. It doesn't feel like Portland is going to allow him to go anyway.
So Kyle, just mark it off your list.
No,
take it off your wish list.
I don't know Austin that well, but we might not be able to invite him back because he's dashing the dreams of a lot of Sacramento Kings fans, because I think some people are looking at Jerami Grant as a perfect fit here in Sacramento, especially if you don't bring back Harrison Barnes. What did Jerami give that team? Because I think the Kings need some wing defenders. Can Jerami be a solid wing defender? I know the numbers didn't indicate that he was last season. Is that on Jerami? Is that on the team? What do you think?
Jerami's a stud defender. I mean, I think that's more on the team. That's why Portland brought him in, because they're in the same spot as Sacramento. They need that wing defender. The offense was just a little bit kind of a plus, but yeah, Portland needs that wing defender. He was fantastic. Just brought lots of energy. A guy that some of their other young forwards can hopefully learn from and kind of see how he plays. Obviously you can't teach his length and whatnot, but the common thing from Dame last season was saying that Jerami Grant was built in a lab just because of how he's physically made up. Yeah. Like he's a difference maker. And even take it back to the 1 year he was in Denver. That's the last before this season, that was the last time they went to the Western Conference Finals, and there's a reason, because he provided that Denver team with the defense they didn't have. So, yeah, I mean, it might be wishful thinking for Sacramento, but Jerami Grant would be huge for Sacramento. He could change a lot of things there.
Austin White, beat reporter for the Portland Tribune of the Portland Trail Blazers. Thanks so much, Austin. Thanks for jumping on with us. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on anytime.
All right, see you during the season. That's Austin White, beat reporter of the Portland Trail Blazers. He works for the Portland Tribune. He just dashed my hopes for a Jerami Grant sighting here in Sacramento. Would love to see Jerami here. And I like the fact, Kayte, that he brought up the defense too. He talked, because the numbers, and you pointed them out to me, indicate he's not a good defender,